All right. Welcome. This is another psychology of women and gender. This is chapter 7, development. If you know what this development stage is all about, that's what we're going to go dive in the reviewing process and review all of it we know about these slides. You're also welcome to mute my voice and read it as I go through the slides. If you really want to explore faster, I will be leaving links up among this chapter. I know there's probably at least one. And any videos that are linked with it will be on the playlist on Angular Super 11, so you don't have to worry of searching them up or knowing what is if you're confused. I have left them in there as a part of the chapter for so on and so on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this, and let's begin. So in this slide, we have basically gender differences. You could tell this slide is going to be talking about exactly the difference of where you're a boy, girl, male, female, etc., etc. That's what this slide is basically. There's no notes on this one, so we can move on next. Then we have this one, exceptions matter. You could see from the baby is born and the parents that are exceptional, the ones that are raising the baby, and you start to observe how they're growing and going through their childhood stages in their different behaviors. Then we have gender and infirmity, which are from 1975, 1980, 1999. It says what is the sex of the babies, which you whether it's a boy or girl, you can just depend on which one it is, and basically learning, knowing how 2-year-olds from their identity, just looking at them based on their baby status. Okay, next we have so gender and social models, which is basically how you say this. It's most likely a self model of children identification. Talks about more about that, the stereotype, as an example, has the identity construct, and so on and so on. So if you're willing to look at this slide and read it, you can pause the video and feel free to explore this. Then we have socialization, the process of the individual, its behavior, whatever through this slide is just talking about everything about the socialization of the boy and girl, what most likely is within this slide. So then we have this one, which is most likely examples you could see are socialized by. And you can tell there's different in how the media, changes irrespective. That's why you have to be careful with media sometimes. It's how we're all socialized by. And then we have this one. You could tell there's a link right there, but I'll also put it in the description, so don't worry about this. It's basically childhood, and what's in this is basically everything that could be appropriate or inappropriate depending on what looks good and what looks bad. That's why it's always, understandable care that as your parent, please, be a little bit more responsible for your child. That's what this most likely is, but maybe other parents are different, who knows. That's what this slide's going to be covering for. And you can also look at that link. It will take you to that, talk about more about than this. Then we have this one, which is also on the Angular Super 11 playlist, so you can able to watch the TED Talk of this woman talking about exactly what she has to say within this development stage. So then we have this slide, dating, which is individuals who are dating, and for some reason nobody can see what that is. I forgot even to do this, so I will probably have to save it again. This is basically, this slide will just cover everything that used from the start of the dating, how it works from the beginning. Then we have this one, of course, which is straight privilege in dating, in which is like basically showing an example of what is how social media works and their tweets, agenda. We have more examples here with gender dystopia. Sometimes there's good, there's bad, and how it makes some individuals depressed. So that's why, I put this up for a reason, because this is most like happens when you're very young. And then we have here gender dystopian again. This slide talks about most likely different areas specific, and then we have some notes too, where I'm gonna be scrolling them so they understand what these notes are about. So I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, I'm gonna be making moves on these a little bit at a time, so that way you can scroll through it and just understand more what's within this notes. Yeah, the whole point of these notes too, is to understand more about what exactly are these notes talking about, to get a little bit more sense and perspective of what this slide is intentional. So that's why, these notes were created. And looks like that's the end of it. All right. There's the next one. We have adults, and here's the marriage. This is exactly what this slide's going to be talking about, and there's also notes. So I'll give you a few minutes. I'm going to scroll through this. Okay. So that way you could see exactly what this is talking about. They even show an example, and looks like that's where it ends, of what this is mostly intended in this slide. Then we got the divorce. Of course, this happens a lot, where you see wherever it is, increase, decrease. That's what this slide's going to be talking about. And we also got some notes, so I'll be going through this as much as possible to actually give individuals a chance to review everything they need to know. That's why, it's important to follow along and read at the same time. And it looks like that's where the end notes. You could pause the video and see exactly where these notes are taking place. All right, next slide. Then the decision not to marry. This happens a lot, and there is a lot of individuals who are suffering from this, and rather it's from society, the impacts of life, something went wrong and they don't want to detach themselves, and this happens a lot. But the point is that what slide this covers, if you're interested to read about this. Then we got the motherhood, of course, and there is a clip on this on YouTube that it will be on Angular Super 11, so that way you could see what that's about. And it does show you exactly what this slide attended of what your child is being raised and what's expected, sometimes not happening at all. Then we have this one, old age, where you get to your old age, but sometimes, it really takes an impact to know what kind of life you're going to have, what type of life is going to present yourself. I mean, things have changed a lot respectively, so it's not always the same between every other woman. Then we have notes here, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down as much as possible, try to give you time to read all the notes which you're about to understand here. I do this because I want to make sure that, every person who reads this, the individual is on the same page, understand more about the genre of women and their gender. That way it's a little bit more clear what their spectra, etc., etc. Okay, looks like that's about much here. And I think that's it. There's nothing more. Alright, so I think that will be it for this chapter 7. Hope you enjoyed this one. This was a review of this lecture, and stay tuned for more chapters, and that will be it. Alright.